Hello everybody, this is Mr. Cloud, and this is the video version of the core content notes for 6B, checks and balances. Alright, so we've learned in a previous lesson in 6A how there is a thing called a separation of powers. So the founders wanted all the powers to be split up across three branches of government, but it wasn't enough for them just that they be split up. They wanted them to be able to check the power of the other branches. That's what we're going to learn about here, checks and balances. First item, the powers of the national or federal government were intentionally separated among the three branches of government in ways that limit any one branch from abusing its power. Learn more about that. This is meant to keep any one branch of government from becoming too powerful and acting like a king, like they had the bad experience with. They are designed to have to work together to get anything done. This is an example of the principle we learned about earlier called limited government. Checks and balances. Each of the three branches of government limits the exercise of power by the other two branches in very specific ways. You need to know these methods. See the chart on the back page for details. So we're just going to go straight to that chart on the back page. Let's talk about how to read this. So legislative. How does the legislative branch check the power of the legislative branch? Well, they're the same thing, so there is no way. So how does the legislative branch check the power of the executive branch? And here's the way. It does that by overriding presidential vetoes. Legislative can also check the power of the executive by impeaching and convicting a president. It can remove a president of office if the president does something really bad. How can the legislative check the power of the judicial branch? Well, Congress has the power to confirm federal judges and justices. Justices are the people on the Supreme Court. Therefore, you can't even become a federal judge unless Congress agrees to let you become a federal judge. That's one way it checks the power. Let's go down to the next one, executive. How can the executive check the power of Congress? The executive can propose legislation. He or she prepares an annual budget for Congress to approve. He or she can call Congress back into session when they are on break. And the president's most powerful check on Congress is the power to veto their bills. So they can pass bills all day long, he can just veto them. And then how does the executive check the judicial branch? The president checks the power of the courts, in other words, the judicial branch, by appointing the judges. You can't even become a federal judge unless the executive branch sends your name to Congress for confirmation. So between the Congress and the executive, they get to pick who gets to be on the judicial. They appoint them. And how does the judicial branch check the power of the executive or legislative? The courts, the judicial branch, can use its power of judicial review, we learned about earlier, to declare the acts of Congress and laws unconstitutional. So they can throw them out. And the judicial can check the power of the executive basically the same way. The court's judicial branch can use its power of judicial review to declare the acts of the president and the laws that he has signed into power unconstitutional, and they have to be removed. All right, so those are the ways that the checks and balances work. Make sure to go and do your online check through Kia. And thank you for watching. See you in class.